Excited to welcome NBA coach Kevin Burleson to the Basketball Podcast. Kevin is currently the head coach of the Rio Grande Valley Vipers of the NBA G-League. He was previously an assistant coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves in 2020 and served as the Timberwolves head coach during the 2022 NBA Summer League. Kevin has also worked as an assistant coach for the Iowa Wolves and the Memphis Grizzlies. Kevin comes from a prolific sport family. Kevin and Nate Burleson are one of only two sets of siblings in which one played in the NBA and one in the NFL. Kevin played college basketball for the University of Minnesota and then professionally overseas. He also played in the NBA for one season for the Charlotte Bobcats. KB, welcome to the podcast.
Appreciate it. Been wanting to do this for a while, so thanks for having me.
Well, it's great. We connected a while ago when you were in Minnesota, and I'm excited to talk to you then, and I was excited to talk to you now. So, look, I got to start with this because in doing research, I didn't realize this, that Kevin, yourself, and Nate are one of only two sets of siblings in which one played in the NBA and one in the NFL. That's pretty cool.
No, it is. It's really cool. I always kind of joke with my brother. I tell him, I messed up the money because, at one point, going into my second year with Charlotte, we started to get some advertisements, some sponsors, and I ended up getting cut. So we didn't get that stuff, but it was, at that time, it was unique, So I thought it would be more, but we're just blessed to be able to, get to that point.
Absolutely cool. Very cool. And basketball wise, you also had a cool experience this past year where you got a chance to be a head coach and, talk to us about that. A longtime assistant, and then you get your chance to be a head coach.
Yeah. I've been fortunate enough to be around some head coaches, and they would always say, when they were assistants and they were like that one seat over, they would say, they think, I can do this for sure. Then they go to the next seat and they're like, well, this is different. So I was kind of prepared for some of the challenges. It was a great year. Obviously, if some people follow, we went to the finals, lost in the finals to Kobe Carl and the crew in Delaware. So, I know Kobe a little bit, so I was happy for him. But yeah, it was a great year. And it was one of the things where I went into it knowing that there's going to be a lot of growth. There's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some things that I felt like I did well, things I didn't do well. So I was just excited to see how good I can be. And it's taught me a lot. I'll tell you this, I know some coaches do say there's nothing like being a head coach. And it's so true. If you can be a head coach in any type of level, you just learn so much about yourself and about, just basketball in general.
How much did Summer League, being the head coach of Summer League, prepare you in a way for that G-League position?
You know what? More than people would think, because, Chris Finch, the head coach of Minnesota, he's one of great mentors too of mine and a lot of other guys. He said, hey, do you want to be the Summer League head coach? And I was like, yeah. And the first thing I thought was oh man, no dinners and stuff like that. I'm going to be stuck in the room drawing up plays, not seeing my friends out there. But I was so excited about it. He gave me the opportunity. And when the first day I started out, I was, okay, am I going to be able to do this? Kind of, I knew I can do it, but it was more so I wanted to win every game, I wanted to be perfect. And then the first practice, I was like, okay, I can do this. This is going to be fun. And then, I had a lot of help along the way. Some of the guys that are on the coaching staff were great. And it prepared me. It made me want more, after that Summer League, I was like, man, I really was serious. I said, I don't want to do nothing else. I want to be a head coach now because it was so good to be in control a little bit and really mentoring the kids off the court too. I mean, it was, only 9-10 days, but at the same time, you're the head coach. They ask you all these questions and you put your arm around them and try to, help them in their careers, tell them if they should go overseas or not, things like that. I liked being that mentor too. So, I was excited about the future.
No doubt. And obviously Summer League and the G League both serve as developmental leagues somewhat for the NBA. And I'm just curious, how do you see your role in player development and helping prospects transition to their next level?
Yeah, it's kind of unique. I mean, my background is player development. So that's how I started, with the Rockets. I was an intern and, that's how I kind of made my way, just being a guy that be in the gym all day, developing guys. And it's involved a little bit in it's the way I think about player development. Before it was more so just acquiring skills. Okay, I got to make you dribble better, or your shooting pocket needs to be better and things like that. But now, as I became a head coach and just over the years being an assistant, it's more about how do you develop this kid to be a role player? Like the role players are the new stars to me. Like, you get guys getting 90 million now as role players, almost 100 million as role players. So there's no excuse. Before it was like, I'm trying to make that big money. Now it's like, you just see him sign for 90 million. So now it's like, how do I develop that mindset first of like being a role player, and two, acquire the skills to be, because acquire the skills to be a role player is way different than being somebody that wants to be Kevin Durant or Steph Curry, right? So the player development in the G League is huge in that sense, because a lot of these guys are really talented. I mean, but they're lacking certain things, whether it's on the court or off the court. But that mindset of like, okay, I used to be the Kevin Durant of my team or the Steph Curry of my team. Now, how do I become that high level role player that might have to do something out the box, such as being a high level defender or whatever, to get to the NBA and stay in the NBA and, make some money. So that's kind of like the player development, I think, mostly in the G League, and kind of my concept when I'm talking to my guys on my team.
And for Rio Grande in particular, I mean, they've done a great job, not just balancing development, but also with winning. And those two things don't necessarily go hand in hand. So what's unique about there and the culture that's been created to be able to be successful while you're still developing players?
Well, I think, it starts with, we've always had, at least when I was at the Rockets, kind of like, not, I want to say strict, but a kind of, a certain way of thinking when it comes to offense, right? Like, you shoot a lot of threes, you're trying to attack the basket at all costs, you're trying to touch the paint, not too many, long twos. And I think most of the league are into that, but we're pretty strict, and the G League is an opportunity to really hone into that. And most of these guys are not going to have that freedom to kind of shoot whatever shot. So when they get to RGV and they see the shot spectrum and how we play, then, they have to buy in, because we're a winning culture over here. So like, they buy in and they find different ways to be successful. Like, for instance, Lou King was with us, and I don't know if some of the guys people out there might know Lou King. I think he's still with the Sixers now, but at the time he's with us, and he's ultra talented. But he's like, when he get the ball, he like to hold it and just go one-on-one ISO game. And I remember I was like, first day, I was like, I'm going to break that. I'm fast. So I was every day in practice. I would pull him off. It's every day in practice. I'm like, I'm telling you, you're talented. But if you play this way, you're not going to get to the next level. You play this way, you will. And playing off the catch, all the things that coaches preach. And finally, I remember we were like, it was like getting close to December, and one of the coaches from another team said, "How are you getting Lou King to play this way? This is crazy. He's playing off the catch. He's moving the ball." And it's like, that is what gets you to that next level, because, you're talented enough to play one-on-one down the stretch when we need you. But throughout the game, especially if you go to the next level, you're going to be the guy that receives the ball after so-and-so gets pressured or doubled or there's some help coming. So you're going to have to play up to the catch and make a play. So, yeah, I think, and for me, being in the NBA a little bit helped me, because I would tell guys every day, I know what it takes. I've been in these coaches' meetings. I know what they look for. And they kind of like, they have to believe me because I've been around. So, yeah, that's the concept. And I think just the organization does a good job in that way. Just we're playing a certain way, and that's it.
So give us a deeper answer. How did you get Lou King to play that way?
Well, listen, these kids nowadays, they want the bag, right? They want to get to that next level. They want to get that contract. So I would all the time, I would grab him and certain other guys, in his category in terms of talent. And I would say, these are the guys that are getting paid more than you. And is he more talented than you? Like, is he like skill for skill more talented? You're like, no. I'm like, why is he in the NBA? Why is he getting paid more than you? Like, just tell me, is he doing this? Is he doing that? Is he a better defender? So I would break that down. Like, and this is a lot. Like, I would keep going in games, they revert back to their old self. I'll bring them back in. Here's another guy. Why is he in the NBA? I'm just like, I'm telling you, I know what these coaches are talking about. They do not want you to be holding the ball all day. They do not want you to do. Now, end of the game, end of the shot clock, I would drop a play or the ball swings to you, do you. But throughout the game, you need to play the right way. So I think over time, I don't know if it's brainwashing, but they're like, okay, I'm going to trust him. And the success, people were telling him to his face, like, you're playing the right way. So, and I think guys understand that. Once they understand that, and it's kind of like, you got to hold them accountable. There's no there's no like you say it and then they don't do it and no one says nothing. Like everybody has to know like this is, I don't care if you're the best player, you're going to be held accountable. So yeah.
Love it. Quantifiable data and accountability. That's just it nowadays, isn't it? The other thing, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say the other thing about RGV that stands out is I know some of the coaches through the years that you've been basically a science experiment somewhat for basketball, right? Like doing different things. And I know one of the ones that you played around with this year is sending 5 to the offensive board. Yeah. So what did you learn?
Yeah, well, the first thing is sending 5 sounds good, but it's not easy to do, right? Especially like we had Trevor Hudgens. Like I told Trevor, like, at first we were sending 5 all the time. And we have some terms we like shadowed every day in practice one thing that I learned that you have to practice it. Like for us, if you don't get your feet in the paint for offensive rebounding, then a whistle blows. So there's no like, just a random play goes by and you didn't do that. If one person didn't, the whistle blows. You might keep playing, but we're calling out the guy that didn't do it. So, and then it's steadily. And after the game, we have numbers, and I'll show them like who didn't go, the percentages. Like, so we're constantly forcing these guys to be like, damn, I gotta go. Coach is gonna be tripping. Coach is gonna be saying something. The whistle's gonna blow. So even if we're doing a dry run, they don't get their feet in the paint on a dry one, just shooting a shot for offensive rebounding, but stopping or blowing the whistle, or we might not stop, we might just say something. But I did learn that, yeah, it sounds good, but like a guy like Trevor, like he's not gonna get a lot of rebounds down there, but he can dominate that free throw area. Like I told him, like that's gonna be your place, your home. Like when offensive rebounding, all them loose balls out there on long rebounds, you gotta go get them. And if you don't feel like you have a chance, you get back, because a lot of times, he's not getting them over them trees. But it won a lot of games for us. Like I think we're pretty good this year. We weren't like as good as they were last year because the personnel was a little different, but it won us a lot of games down the stretch. I mean, you can see in the playoffs. I mean, teams, I'll think of the Cleveland, New York series. And I think the kid name is Williams. He was just offensive rebound like a monster. And it was like, they're daggers, right? Because it's like you play great defense and you offensive rebound and get a 3 or a layup. So yeah, it taught me that like it's very important, but you have to teach it every single day, because once you don't, even your most athletic guy, and if Jalen LeCue is listening to this, he'll understand, because he's obviously one of the most athletic guys in our league, and not somebody I've never seen a guy like that actually, but he would not offensive rebound at times, and then when he started doing it, it just took our team to another level.
Well, it connects back to what you said about certain players finding another role for themselves too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious about 2 things. One is, did it improve your transition defense? Because that's the other thing that seems to be connected with sending 5 to the boards, is that you're immediately connected with a check in terms of getting back on defense.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second thing is, do you think this is something that can be used in the NBA?
So first, I wouldn't say it improved it. But because at first, just our technique on transition wasn't the greatest. But when we got the hang of being able to do both, like it did make us like, I felt like dangerous, because we sprinted so hard back. We always thought we were behind the 8 ball, right? Because our guys thought, okay, we put our feet in the paint, we know we're probably behind. Even when we weren't, like the ball wasn't ahead of us, they would just sprint so hard back and get into the paint and build out. So that, I guess that could have ended up helping us, because we started to improve down the stretch of the year. But yeah, that's one thing I did see, like, the guys was freaking out because they knew, like, okay, we're all 5 in, we got to sprint our butt back as far as we can. And a lot of times teams weren't kicking the ball ahead, so we were back in time to set our defense. So it did help in that sense, but it wasn't something just right away quantifiable. Like it was just kind of gradual.
Yeah, and that connects to that second question, which is basically, would NBA players do this?
Yeah, so I know something in Minnesota, we have something similar that we're trying to teach. I think it's valuable. I think NBA teams can do it. I think Boston does it a little bit, pretty good actually. But I think players that are not used to it, one thing I did learn, you cannot force them, because like it's one of the things where it's like, yes, you're going to tell them every day, but it literally, it took almost a whole season for Jalen to get it really good. So it's like, it's not going to work overnight. Like they're so used to like watching the ball or just getting the outlet and things like that. So I think NBA teams can do it because there's high level players. And I think if it starts from day one in camp and it's like, this is a non-negotiable, this is what we do. And we're going to have our bumps in the roads early. But anybody that comes into this organization, this program knows it's what we do because they see this guy doing it, this guy doing it. And especially if your high usage guys doesn't do it because they're the guys that are on the court all the time, making all the plays. If they're doing it, there's no excuse for anybody else to not do it.
It's fascinating. It's going to be interesting to watch how teams kind of evolve their offensive rebounding. So thanks for going through that science experiment, though.
Yeah, that's one thing I would say, though, it's fun because, I will get some directives from the top sometimes like, hey, try this. Or sometimes I'm like, hey, we're going to start doing this. And then they're like, oh, let me check with the, GM or, whatever. And like, okay, that's cool. So we get to experiment a little bit. And we get to, usually, they do a great job of getting the athletes for us. So we can do it.
Yeah, that's fun. And, you've been a part of obviously a number of staffs. We talked about Summer League, we talked about G-League head coaching positions too. So talk to us a little bit about how you bring a team like that together, building a winning culture, a team identity.
Yeah, man. It starts from day one. Like I'm a big believer of like really challenging your best players. Like, because you want to build a culture, but it doesn't matter if you're in the bench role players or buying into everything, and then your best players that are with the ball all the time and making the plays don't. So I'm like right away, like, okay, these are the guys I'm gonna challenge every day, and then you got to figure out how to challenge them. Like there's certain guys that you're gonna have to just go right at, and certain guys you got to bring them to the office, put your arm around them, and figure out how to get to them. So right away, I try to, as a staff, we try to look at that and say, okay, who are these guys? Okay, these guys right here, we're going to have to talk to them this way. We're going to have to bring them in, do this. And then once we get them on board, everybody else will follow. So that's kind of like my thing. And that's my staff, we kind of like did that. And it worked because at the end of the day, there's guys that are really talented, but they're in the G League for a reason because maybe they have some emotional problems or they just can't just be level-headed at times. But, them guys are the ones that are level-headed. They got emotional control. They're buying into the system. Then everybody else starts to follow. And then it's that every day is repetition too. Like I'm big on like words and like throwing things out there. We had a mantra this year, stay present, right? We broke the huddle, stay present. And like, we said that all the time. And that meant so many things. Stay present if coach is yelling at you, or your girlfriend just broke up with you, or you had a bad night, or whatever it is, right? Or the refs is terrible today, or your teammates didn't pass to you. What is the objective? We're trying to win a game. Stay present in that moment. That moment is you got to make this next shot, or you got to box out. So a team kind of grabbed that mantra and just kind of ran with it. And I really believe that helped us get to that finals appearance because we had a lot of tough challenges along that way. So there's a lot of little things you got to do, and it has to be every day. If you don't, like one day you start to just lax and just not do your system and not say these words or not tell them this, they're going to go another way. I'm just telling you, that's just what it is. They're going to say, oh, they're not talking about getting 5 feet, our feet in the paint. They're not talking about staying present. They're not talking about this or that. So every day we're hitting them with it. And I think that helps us a lot.
I'm so glad. I think throughout all these podcasts, whenever we talk about that culture piece, it comes through with what you just said, which is it's these mini conversations, these small moments. It's not this big speech or this one speaker that creates it. It's this everyday thing that you just referenced that you've got to stay on it all the time.
Yeah, I think, and there's one thing I know Chris was really good at, and JB was good at, JB Bickerstaff and Chris Finch. They're really good at like projecting, like, and like saying, okay, right now I could see this happening. If we don't nip this in the bud now, in 2 weeks this is going to happen. They're really good at that. And I observed it. I was like, man, because they knew like I could feel something. So we got to start to do this, that, and the third. So I took that with me. I wouldn't just after practice just sit there, get something to eat and leave. I'm like looking at what happened today, who interacted with who, from teammates to staff to, last game. Like I'm thinking all these different things. And then I go the next morning, I'm going to a staff meeting, start talking to the staff like, hey, what do you think about this? Is anything going on with this? And I might bring a player in. So then it just kind of starts to nip stuff in the bud early. And then now it's not just, it doesn't blow up, because, the coaches that are listening, they know a lot of these players are fragile. Teams are fragile. And I don't care how good a team you have. Once it breaks, it breaks.
Great example. And you referenced staffs, and I know that's another big piece in terms of the NBA or G League or whatever's managing a staff, and all the players that come with the team as well. But you've said it, most staffs have the answers to the puzzle. Talk to us about that, because I do agree. I mean, especially with the size of NBA staffs, you better have the answers, right?
Oh man, they have all the answers. I'm talking about, because I mean, like you said, the size of the NBA staff is huge. I mean, everybody, should try to contribute when they can. So like, we go to these coaches meetings. It's like, okay, we should do this. We need to do this. He needs to do this, and like, it's a long laundry list of things people need to do, and this will make us successful. And it's all right, really, it's all right. But how do you execute that is the hardest thing in the world, because one, you're dealing, especially at the next level, you're dealing with players with, contracts and this and that. And it's a lot of different things. So the coaches, like, let's be real, like, coaches know, especially at this level, a lot of coaches, we run the same stuff. And like, it's not like, there's some things that are different. There's some wrinkles. There's some things, the timing of it, when you run it and things like that. The teaching of it is different, but it's all about the buy-in part. Like, how do you get, they have the answers. Now, how do you get these kids or these men to do this over and over again the right way, even if you lose, right? Like, and because if you do it the right way over and over again, throughout the season, you should have a successful season if you have the talent. So, but that's the hard part, because players want to go their own way. They got people in their ear, and they got their own agenda at the time. And especially now with the social media, it's just like they're their own brand. So everybody has the answers, but how do you, execute them the right way? And how do you have your kids your men to execute them every day? So, and I always go back to it. Every day in practice. There's no, like, you can't just give them nothing. You have to make sure they're executing these things every day in practice. And then, like, in the game, it's just going to be, it's habit almost. So, and it's hard though, because some of these players is like, man, I make $100 million, man, especially next level. Like, I'm coming to practice. It's a Wednesday. It's it's cold. Man, what are you talking about? But nah, you can't let up. So yeah, I always say that, man. I've been in a lot of staffs, and it's just like, it's not about the answers. It's about how you getting this player to execute it. That's the trick of it. And I think every day in practice, the mini conversations, the proof, the analytics, the film, all that plays a part. I mean, if you get relaxed on one of them little things, and that chain breaks, it's over.
Well, I'm glad you brought it up that way, because I'm, as an advocate for coaches through this podcast, I mean, it's so true. I do feel like coaches get unfairly blamed for so many things, when coaches usually have the answers. It's just a question of whether you can get the buy-in, right?
Yeah, it's so funny, because people call me, especially like some of the teams I've been on, like, why'd you guys do that? Why was he doing that? Why did you have him doing that? I said, you think we told him to do that? You actually think we said, yeah, go do that. Go do that. Yeah. No. He went against the game plan. But I mean, we're not going to, so, but it goes back to, like, it goes both ways. Like, yeah, he might have went against the game plan, but it's our job to make him, can stay with the game plan, right? So it kind of goes both ways. We have to, if I can figure out a way. Yeah.
You referenced the shot profile that you were looking for on offense. Mm-hmm. Talk to us a little bit about the offensive spacing concepts that you use to be able to create that shot profile.
Yeah, I think most coaches, especially now, especially at the NBA level, the 5-out spacing and, just having the room for your playmakers to attack and drive and kick and, start that chain or start that trigger where somebody comes over, whether it's a low man or whether it's a nail help, and then somebody can make plays for somebody else, or they make plays for themselves. But it's not easy, because especially when you got guys coming from college and young players, they want to gravitate towards the ball. It's just a natural thing. And even if you say get to the corner, and I think every NBA team has X's in the corner. I mean, college teams too, like, get to that deep corner, because it creates the spacing. They start to creep up. Whether it's, even if it's the top of the floor, the spacing, like somebody might be going one-on-one, their player might be helping. They're just top of the floor waiting for the ball, because they want to receive the ball. They want to make a play. So the big thing is that 5-out spacing, whether it's 5-out or 4-out one in, you have to be thinking about sharing the floor with your teammate at all times. And like, that's one thing I have learned from being a coach this year is, like, you can say these things and they nod their head, but sometimes they don't know what you're talking about. Like they'll nod their head like, yeah, okay, I understand. No, they don't understand. And you have to literally teach them. And it might be over and over again. Like, this is why, look at your spacing. Look at your spacing. This is why you should share the floor with your teammate this way, because now he has them to drive. Now you create that chain, and now you can kick it to this person to make a play. And the ball might actually come back to you. So going back to like every day, like, and I'll tell you this, even for me, like my first couple weeks there when I was head coach, I told myself I would never have long film sessions because I just think that's unproductive. Because I think, after 15 minutes, it's like, they're not thinking, they're thinking about Call of Duty. But my first really long film session, I told him I was so pissed off after one of our first games. I said, hey, I got this film session. I said, I'd probably be like a little longer, like 25 minutes. So I'm looking in the back and I'm seeing like people nodding off. I'm like, how long have I been on here? I've been yelling, teaching, doing all this. And it was like 50 minutes in. And I stopped it. And I apologized to the team, but at the same time, I said, you guys needed this. I said, I know some of you guys didn't get all this, but this is how much, I care, and I want you guys to care about this. So that being said, like it takes it over and over again. That spacing, we talk about spacing over again, correcting them. I mean, even they have consequences. I'm really big on getting on the line, but it's kind of like if you have to chew them out a little bit, chew them out a little bit. That spacing is important. And then I think with athletes, after that, they're so talented at this level, you just kind of let them play. You know what I'm saying? Just have the general concepts like, okay, if he drives baseline, you cut the opposite wing, you can get a little, we call it a kill cut, or if he drives baseline and you're not at the deep corner, you better drift. There's all these little things that they got to have the concepts. And, then after that, just, let their talent like go. So, I always say, like I told them first day of camp, you guys are the artists. I'm just the guy to give you guys the tools, the canvas. I give you guys all the equipment, and then I give you guys the framework, and then you guys just paint. So, yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that one of the hardest things to teach at all levels of basketball is holding a spot. The unintended consequences of the way kids are raised in basketball is coaches are always shouting, keep moving, move.
Yeah,
and it's that's not the game anymore, is it?
No, it's not. Oh, it's not. It's not, because it's like, you got guys out there so talented. Like if you're moving and cutting in front of them as they're making plays, like a Jalen LeCue, ain't too many guys can stand in front of him. He's so athletic. So you want him to start the trigger. You want him to go downhill. And then when he gets to that paint, we drill it. He's looking for the kick out. I always tell guys, like, especially in transition, when you attack the paint in transition, it's not for you, especially at this level. Because, every team is taught to, get to the paint, build out, or, obviously, find your shooters, but we're not giving up layups. So you want to get to the paint to look to pass, right? Now, obviously, you have a lane to dunk or something, dunk it. But a lot of times people think, especially when they're young, they come in, oh, I'm in the paint, I gotta just make a play. You got 2 dudes on you, 3 dudes on you. Your job is done. So no, it's hard. You want your athletic guys you want that same in the half court spacing. Or athletic guys to get down hills, and now they should know what to do. I mean, if it's a kill cut, it's a kill cut. If it's a corner pass, if it's a swing, they should know that because we drew that. And that's one thing, I know Chris talked about this and JB Bickerstaff talked about this. It's like whatever, type of offense you do want, and that whatever type of actions you do want consistently, you have to drill that every single day. And we have certain drills we do it every single day. They're quick, 4 or 5 minutes, and pass, drive, this kind of thing. They know we're going to do it. It's not like it's just like a warm up almost, but it's just kind of like gets their mind like, okay, kind of not say brainwashing them, but they get the repetitive movement of drive, pass, drive, all that, and then it's like clockwork in the game.
Love it. And the beautiful thing about basketball is it's a game of opposites. So certainly talking about offensive spacing, I know one of the things that you value defensively is recognizing when your opponents are potentially in bad spacing situations. So talk to us about how you try and take advantage of bad spacing defensively.
Yeah, I mean, we got some unique defenders like Trey Mitchell. None of you guys heard of him. I'll say he's the best defender in the world. He was great this year for us, but he was really good at reading when teams were in bad spacing. And I start to see that, and I'm like, we should have that as a concept. Like that has to be something we have to take advantage of, because a lot of teams do have bad spacing because guys want to gravitate to the ball. So say somebody's top of the floor and somebody's going one-on-one. A lot of times, top of the floor, even if it's a solid shooter, guys will just hug their man because it's just natural. It's one pass away. But as the guy goes to make his move, once you see his back, you should be following him. You should be tipping from behind. You should be trying to block his shot. There's no way he's going to go up and then turn around, twist in the air, and hit the guy at the top, unless you're Jason Kidd or a high-level passer. But it's not too many guys like that. So we teach that. When we watch our film, it's like a concept like, if you're defending the corner man and that guy's driving and then the guy, turns, you see his back and he's pulling up, you should be coming to block a shot. It should be a double contest. Or if the spacing is bad, like it's 3 guys on one side and it's really bad spacing, that means that's cue for you we're helping. We're helping. We're helping. If it comes our way, we're coming because we have help. We have 3 guys on this side. We can help. One guy can help too, you know what I'm saying? So we talk about that a lot. And I think after a while, they didn't get it early, but then they start to understand like, oh, yeah, teams do have bad spacing. Oh, I can see, I'm right here, the low man, but, there's 3 or 4 guys on this side. I can, kind of roam a little bit. So I give them a little freedom, sometimes it is scary because you're like, coach, you told me I can do that. But it's helped us so much because we take advantage of teams' bad spacing. So it's all about the teaching point. You got to drill it a little bit. Some of our shell drills, we do that. I talk about that all the time. But yeah, it's funny to me now that I've worked on that this season. I watch games. I'm like, that guy drove right to the middle of the floor and he pulled up and this guy was standing right there and he just watched him shoot it. And he could have literally just blocked it from behind or tipped it from behind. So we got really good at that, and teams were like kind of scared to dribble in certain areas on the floor with us.
I love it. I love it. To me, it's common sense, right? Player development sessions I've done around the world for the last 5 years, I always start with that concept of offense is trying to create space and defense is trying to take it away. Yep, we play out of those concepts throughout the whole camp. And honestly, it is surprising sometimes that isn't common sense because that's the basics of what you're doing in your system. And it doesn't matter where you're forcing the ball or whatever you're doing, you're just focusing on creating space or taking away space, aren't you?
No question. But I think it's the drills we do too. Like you do a shell drill, you got these principles, it's pretty like set. Like this is what we do. We come off this way. So when teams do something that's bad spacing, they're still in their shell mind. I'm still in my position. I'm still hands out. But it's like he's literally right there, just tipping from behind or block his shot or help or double contest, something like. So I think once you kind of like, hey guys, we're in this shell, but you guys got to be creative too. And you guys can understand bad spacing. So take advantage of that. Don't let them just be here with this bad spacing and still be able to make moves and do that. So they have to be able to move. I told my guys, like, they have to be able to move the ball well, have great spacing, and be unselfish to beat us the whole entire game. They can't just be one-on-one or they can't just one pass shot. They have to be able to be really good at that the whole entire game. And I think they kind of start to understand that concept.
Well, you referenced it on offense, giving them some freedom out of some concepts, and you're doing the same thing defensively. And I find the best defensive coaches now are giving their players some opportunities to make decisions.
Yeah, no question. Because at the same time, like there is concepts, but the game's changed, man. Like there's so many different ways guys can score the ball now. From all the YouTube videos, these kids are learning crazy moves and different types of variations of ways to play the game now. So you kind of have to let these kids kind of have a little bit of that leeway, but still be in that framework. That's why I always go back to the artist. I'm like, I'll give you guys the tools, but you guys got to be the artist, man. You guys got to literally be the artist and be creative on both sides of the floor.
Love it. Yeah, I love that reference. And Coach, help us out, because I know like the G-League schedule is completely unique. It's an extra challenge to a coach with the travel, with the busy schedule, practices, games, etc. So talk to us about how do you manage your time and keep the team and yourself focused and prepared throughout the season?
Yeah, this is really, really cliche, but one day at a time. It's challenging just because, we're commercial. I know, you're in the NBA, you get used to the luxury of the charter planes, the private, like, so you're just kind of, everything's boom, boom. The commercial, you could be at the, airport for 3 or 4 hours, right? And just waiting, delays, and you're getting late at night. And the next day, you're trying to get to a gym that may not be, suitable to play actually, because you're at some community college, maybe that's out somewhere, like you're just practicing, trying to get up shots. Like, so it's a lot of stuff you have to deal with, but it's staying present. Like, you got to have some type of mantra for these guys every day and like preach to them so they can be like, and then kind of check on them, be like, hey, how you guys feeling and all that. And like, but it's really like every day is a different day. We're on a mission. So it's a challenging thing. I know for myself, like, and it's made me a better coach. Because even with the G League has kind of put together with the two ways and guys going up and down, man, there was times where, we were shooting the lights out and then we have all these shooters and then they call our guys up. And then I'm thinking to myself, I still got, enough shooters. I'm going to play the same way. And we go 2 games in a row. We can't make a shot from 3. I'm just like, all right, what kind of coach am I? I got to adjust, right? And I'm like, all right, I'm looking at film from Luka and Dallas, how they play out the post and their guards. I'm looking at different things, and then we adjust. We went 2-3 games playing a whole different way, a total different way. And I'm like, wow, I will never do this in the NBA, just because you have to play a certain way. I mean, you'll play a certain way because you have a certain amount of talent. This is quick. Guys are going, your best players are going. Now you don't have enough shooting. Now you got to play a different way, play more, attack the rim, play out the post a little bit. So yeah, no, it's a challenging, but it does it makes you grow faster than I think any time I've had in my NBA career, because you have to adjust on the fly so fast.
Well, coaching is definitely an art and a science, and there's probably no better canvas than the G League to be able to develop that, is it?
Yeah. Oh, no better canvas. I'm telling you, no better.
Yeah. So many challenges, so many unexpected things, and obviously it sounds fun in some way for us coaches to want to be a part of that. So that's great.
It's only fun if it works.
Of course. Well, win or lose, you learn, right? Win or lose, you learn, and you're going to become better because of it in theory. But I get what you're saying. And well, that's one thing RGV, as we talked about, you guys have done a great job balancing that with winning and consistently winning. And one of the reasons I think is that you referenced this a little bit earlier, but talk to us about how do you build pace and maintain pace? Because that's a big part about the philosophy of you guys playing the way you play, right?
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, and I think, I tell people all the time, I came in as an intern with the Rockets, so I've been kind of brainwashed, right? So it's like, when you see one way to play, then you go somewhere else, you kind of be like, why are they doing it this way? We should be playing faster. We should be doing this, whatever. So it's always been like that since I started in NBA. So it's kind of been embedded in me. And I was a point guard, so I understand kicking the ball ahead and things like that. But essentially, when it comes down to it, like, it's like going back to what I said, the drills you do every day. Like I remember going to training camp with Pete Carroll. And Pete Carroll, we were watching the training camp. This is when I was with the Rockets. And then, we're asking him, like, what's your philosophy and things like that. And he's like, as the season goes on, your fundamentals go to shit. He said, so you have to do things, you have to be redundant and do the things that are going to make you successful every day, every single day. And you might have to, disguise it as something else because guys do get bored of it, but you got to keep doing it. And I always took that with me. And I've seen other coaches kind of implement that, but like you play a pace, we're doing that kick ahead drill almost every day. Now guys' legs are tired. We know they're not going to do that, but we're doing kick ahead drill almost every day. And we count our kick aheads. And I'm big on that. Like I know, like the Rockets is obviously big on analytics. So I'm big on analytics, teaching the players, like, look at, we can see it right here. I'm not just saying it. Look at your kick aheads today. Look at the first quarter. Look at the second quarter. Look at how we made a run in the third quarter. Like, we kicked the ball ahead or we pushed our pace. Look at our pace. We're the 3rd in the league or 4th in the league. Like, we should be better than that. So it's all about that reinforcement of like, all right, we win games. Our pace is high. Look at, we're losing games. Look how slow we're playing. Things like that. So you got to keep hitting with different angles. And I showed the team, I think before the playoffs, it was Sacramento. And how they got the ball after makes, they got the ball off the court in like 2 seconds. And I showed like a big highlight reel of it. I said, this is us right here. This is why we're here right now, but we got to even have to be faster. So I always hit them with things like that. And I think you have to do it in different ways because these kids, I send them film all the time. And we have a WhatsApp app that we all share stuff. And I send them film all the time, highlight reels, and they'll comment on it and stuff like that. And I'm like, that should be you, so-and-so. That should be you, so So it's always hitting them with it so then they can't have no room to be like, I'm doing it a different way. No, coach is brainwashing us. We can't do it a different way. So, yeah.
I love it. I love charting, that idea of charting hit aheads, like whatever you want to appear, obviously emphasize it and chart it. How you referenced analytics. What are some ideas that you can share with us about managing analytics? Because that seems to be a big part of the job now for a coach, is figuring out how to manage all this information.
Yeah, I mean, I think like, first it starts with the staff. So we got to all understand what we're looking at, right? And like, even me, like, even though I came in with it with the Rockets and I understood a lot of it, our GM, Travis Stockbridge, he's, obviously, through the whole organization, they're big in it, but our GM is really big in it. So I would call him and be like, okay, break this down for me. What does this exactly mean? I see these numbers, but this is not making sense. And like, we'll talk for some time, an hour on the phone, just going through analytics and why this and why that. So my job is, bring the staff together and make it digestible for the staff or for all of us. So then we can make it digestible for the players. And believe it or not, like I used to think players didn't really care about that because it's like, who cares about analytics? But now knowing that it's a big part of them making money, they're starting to get into it a little more, right? And like, so if you can make it digestible for them, and when our player development guys sit down, there's like a breakdown of each player of like what they did, like say going to the offensive rebounding or even boxing out or passing one dribble pass, whatever. There's a lot of little things we chart that they're looking at each player and saying like, you could do better at this, you can do better at that. And if you do better at this, you'll get to this. So I think it's big just to like first know what you're looking at. Don't just be having all these numbers, and because some stuff I don't even care about, to be honest. I think a lot of coaches, there's a lot of numbers there, but the numbers that really matter for your team, your system, you have to know it inside and out. So then you can explain to the players, and then the whole staff knows, and then we can just keep hitting them with it.
Well, I think the most important thing you said there is the humility to be able to ask if you don't understand.
Yeah, yes.
And I know I'm there with so many analytics. I have to ask someone, what does this actually mean?
Yo, man, I do it all the time. Like I call Travis, like, come on. And he's like, all right, let me break this down. I'm like, well, that doesn't really mean nothing for us. Well, I don't have to worry about that. Or yes, I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So, yeah.
How does he respond when you tell him that one doesn't mean anything for us?
Well, it actually does. No, I don't want to say his voice, but yeah.
I get it. But the biggest challenge is like taking it from the analytics department per se to a coach and then applying it on the court. And that is obviously the art of it, is like the science. Yeah, we know the numbers, we get the numbers, we understand it, but then we have to apply it in a practical way and still have it conform to our team identity and team culture, right? That's the biggest challenge of this.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, because I've been in a lot of meetings, coaches' meetings, where somebody will put some numbers out, and then we're like, okay, how are we gonna? What's the solution, right? And then everybody's throwing out different drills and different concepts. Like, okay, we can do this every day, or we can do this, and like somebody might say, I did that before, that doesn't work. So it's kind of like that is the challenge, right? Like, and I think it's team to team. Like, it's not just like, okay, this magic drill works for everybody, right? It's team to team. Like, there might be something that maybe it's film, like something like, man, they really react to film well, So I think it's just even like we're talking about ball movement one time, and I had a highlight edit of Minnesota, and I was like, I always had it with me, just from being over there. It was about our ball movement, right, and how we're moving the ball, shooting threes, making plays, playing fast pace. And I said, I'm gonna show these guys. We were playing against the Texas Legends the day before I showed it to them. And we had probably our best scoring game of the season. We like broke a record. I think we had like 50-some points in the quarter. It was something. And I was like, was that the film or was that my coach? I don't know what, And I did it again like 2 weeks later, and we played well again. I was like, all right, I can't abuse this, but I got to time it right. I said, I think they react well to highlight, like seeing somebody else that's really good doing what I want them to do. So I'll start putting these heads together and but it all kind of came from the analytics. So I'm like, we're playing too slow. We're doing this. Look at the numbers. So if I just show them the numbers, it might have hit, but it might have been like, no, here's people doing it that you want to be like, look at. And then I think that kind of like helped them kind of see and grasp what I'm talking about. So yeah, you obviously got to practice it, but sometimes you got to figure out other ways.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that example. That's such a good, great one to drive it home. And, I know player developments have been important to you in your career in terms of how you've come up through the NBA. So talk to us a little bit about balancing player development with team development, especially at the level that you're at, where players want to get to their next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a challenge for me because, before the season, I'm writing up different ways to do our player development. And I'm just like, okay, Kevin, you're not in player development anymore. You got to think about the team now. Like, and then I'm like, okay, so now I have to, trust some of my coaches and say, okay, this is what I kind of look for. I think there's concepts that as a coach that you want your offense to look like, that you can work on every day with player development, like playing off the catch. That's one simple one. Like, I think most coaches like that. I don't think too many coaches would be like, I don't want you to play off the catch. So I told our player development guys, Teray Murray was with us. He's with the Sixers now. We had Myray Chapman. We had a whole squad. My coaching staff was great this year. Jay Stedman, all these guys. We had a great coaching staff, but we put our player development in. Evan Harville was with the team last year, so he had a lot of things that worked. So I told him, like, anything that worked, tell me, and we're going to implement it. But one thing I want to do is make sure every day we're playing off the catch. Like, that's non-negotiable. We are playing off the catch, and we're teaching the technique. So we as a staff walk through the technique of what I wanted and like how I wanted to run through the ball, and then the second layer of what decision, from either decelling and slowing down or to making a pass or to finishing. So I went through the whole player development concept in that way. And then after that, what you want to do with the ball handling and the shooting, like, I'm fine with the, getting them all that stuff. But that part has to be every day. And I think that helped us a lot because it stopped guys from just catching it and dribbling as much.
Coach, you've done so much already. And, I'm curious to get your future aspirations and what you kind of foresee for yourself now. You've done all these different steps along the way. What's next?
Well, obviously just keep growing. That's what I think. I'm excited about my second year. Like, I tell some of my basketball peers that ask me about my year, and I'm like, I grew so much just studying the game because, obviously being a head coach, you have to have the answers the next morning. So, like, keep growing. And then secondly, like, I have aspirations to be an NBA head coach, and I feel like I am going to be. I think I have a gift of working with players, and I think that's a big part of it. It's a big part of making players buy in, and that's one thing I have a gift with, no matter if it's a hard player to deal with, quote unquote, or just somebody that's not confident. Like, I can kind of, make them play within the system and help them grow as a player, and kind of help the team. And just, I always had dreams of being the head coach of the Seattle Supersonics. So, just saying,
got to get a team back.
Just got to get a team back. When we get back, I'm gonna be that head coach. So I'm still putting that in the universe, and I feel like that's gonna be me. But yeah, definitely. I can't wait to what the future holds for me, and I'm very confident that I'll be that NBA head coach.
And we're going to put that out to the universe for you as well, Coach. I love that.
Thank you.
And, I got to say, like, it seems a little bit more common now to have a G-League head coach be multiple years as the head coach of the team.
Mm-hmm.
But talk to us a little bit, but maybe first, what do you see as things that you can do better going into your second year? And then what is the advantage of doing it for a second year?
Well, if you ask me, I'm pretty hard on myself. So I think I could do a lot of things better.
Well, be nice to yourself here.
No. I patted myself on the back at the end of the season because I did do, I think, a pretty good job. But there's things that I've never, like, when you're a head coach, you did thought exercises. At least I do thought exercises of different situations. But until you're into that situation, you don't know how you handle them. So for sure, like, for me, I feel like substitution patterns at times, like, you want to, like, play your best players at the time, then you want to take one of your best players out because he's not doing the right things, and you're like, I'll leave him in a little longer, things like that. And I second guess myself a couple times this season where I feel like, at least for me, I feel like it hurt us. And sometimes I'll tell the team, like, yeah, that one was on me. So I think I can improve on that, and I think I did throughout the season. And I had a lot of help from our GM because he does the analytics with it. And then after that, starting in camp, you want to start. Like, I started camp with so much stuff. I did so much. I gave him so much, and I think it watered down a little bit of stuff we were doing. So I think this season, for sure, I'm gonna start it only our core stuff. That's it. Like, I don't need to teach you a million skills for this or that. Only our core stuff, because that's what really matters. I didn't understand it matters until the season went on. So yeah, them are the two things I think I'm gonna change for next season and be better at that, be better at the subs, and then definitely in camp and start with our core stuff. But yeah, What was that second one? I
The
forgot.
advantage of being the head coach the second year is
Yeah,
obviously.
I mean, yeah, multiple years. Like,
Mhm.
so the confidence after this year, I had, my confidence just grew as far as just my coaching abilities. So going into the second season, I remember the season that ended. I said, I can't imagine after next season how much more confident I will be, just because you go through the ups and downs and the wins and the losses and it's all that hard work and the grind. Like, you just build, a lot more confidence, and you build a lot more, you acquire more skill. And then you can't teach experience, right? So like there's a lot of coaches that are really talented, but they've never been in the fire, right? And so I'm like, I want the reps. I want more reps. So that's why I couldn't wait to get back this year, because it gives you more reps to be in that moment where it's, you got to make a split second decision. Are you going to go for 2-for-1 at this point? Or are you going to do this or blah, blah, blah? So it's a lot of different ways that you could look at it, but it's more about acquiring more experience, and I can't wait.
I love it. I mean, you're approaching it all the right way, and we're really grateful. I mean, it took a while to get us finally together, KB, but
Yeah.
it's worth it. Thank you for your perseverance, and grateful for you to be able to share the game with us.
Now, I just want to thank you, and you're doing a great job, because, obviously as a coach, just being able to go into a podcast and listen to somebody say something that I could take real quick and help my team, or just learn something like that. That's amazing, because, as coaches, we're always trying to get better, and this is a great podcast. So you're doing a great job.
Thanks so much, Coach.